got a new book. And here's what it says. The ministers came in my office a little while ago, and one of them asked me how was I doing, and I said something. Then I said, "Oh, wait a minute, ask me again, how am I doing?" And then I picked up my book, and you see what it says? That's my new book.
All right.
Everybody, look at the person next to you and ask them, say, "How you doing?" Now answer somebody, say, "I'm doing better." Yeah. Say, "I'm doing better." Yeah. Now everything is not quite where I wanted, but I'm doing better. Yeah. It's better than it was. Yes. I'm doing better. Say it again, I'm doing better. Now, I found a couple of stories in the book that I thought were interesting. Y'all look so good. Doesn't this look good? Y'all look so good sitting close together like this. I found two stories in there that I thought were interesting as we Quincy go into our next series. One of them talked about two brothers. One brother was a preacher, and this kind of touched me because one brother was a preacher and the other brother was a lawyer. And the reason it caught my attention is because when I graduated high school and started my education, that's what I set out to be, was a lawyer. And my dad told me I got saved while at school up at AM. I got saved, and Dad said, "Boy," he said, "you can't be a preacher and be a lawyer." He said, "Lawyers tell lies." So he said, "You can't be a preacher and a lawyer." So it caught my attention. But these two brothers, one of them, Paul, was a preacher, and the other one was a lawyer. And the lawyer was, he was an affluent lawyer. He was doing good, really, really good. But the brother who was a preacher, he was a pastor, and his church wasn't growing. It wasn't seeming to be growing. And he saw how successful his brother was, and he didn't feel like he was that successful because the church wasn't growing in terms of numbers. And so he said to his brother, he said, he explained, he said, "Look, man, I'm doing everything that I can do, but the church don't seem to be growing." He said, "Why don't you come in?" He said, "You're doing well as a lawyer." He said, "Why don't you come to one of our services, hear me preach, and see if you can tell me what the problem might be." And sure enough, the brother came and he listened to his brother preach, and after church, the preacher called him in the office and said, "Hey, did you pick up anything?" He said, "Absolutely, I saw it right away." And he said, "Oh, good, tell me what you saw." He says, "I'm a lawyer. I tell lies, and I make people believe." He said, "I make it sound like the truth." He said, "You tell the truth, but you make it sound like a lie." I pray that my truth of the word doesn't come across sounding like a lie. Then I read another one. It was this affluent man. He was coming to church, but he didn't believe in God in terms of God's authority in the world. But he did believe that there was a higher power to make all this stuff happen. And one day after church, somebody called him and asked him, "Look, if you don't believe in God, why do you go to church?" He says, "Even though I don't believe, when I hear that preacher preach, sound like he believed." We need to live our life to make people believe that there is a God. Amen. Every day we must live our lives to make people believe that there is a God. Amen. I was in Israel. This is a real story. I was in Israel, and one of the guys the liaison that I had, I don't know how we got to talking about the Bible. Well, I do know because we were visiting these sites. And he said, we were talking about Jesus and the Bible and New Testament. Now, how many know there in Israel? Let me borrow this, Margaret. In Israel, you know what their history book is? Their history book is the Old Testament. That's what they learned. It's their history. But he said, now, the New Testament, he said, we don't believe that. says, we read it because we know y'all believe it, but we don't believe it. And I thought, oh my God, how can you read the Old Testament? Because Jesus is there. How can you read the Old Testament and not believe the New? But that's what he said to me. So we need to live. And I got an opportunity to preach to a little Jewish man. And I preached, I laid it on him. He said, it's all right. But he still didn't believe. But we have to live our lives, especially when trouble rises. We're in trouble. You can't be living like you have no hope.
That's right.
When somebody dies, we can't be acting like we are people who have no hope. We have hope in Jesus. Amen. My hope is built, the songwriter said, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood, and I dare not trust, but wholly. That's where we must be every day. Is that all right? So go ahead and turn to Mark chapter 11, and I'm almost through preaching. Y'all don't believe it yet, but I'm almost through preaching. I'm almost done. I did say this was an introduction to the next series. Mark chapter 11. I'm going to jump around just a little bit and read it here, and then we're going to be done. Share just a few things with you. We're going to be done. Is that all right? And Tim and Mike, y'all keep playing. I don't want to work it too hard, but I ain't going to be long for real. For real. Unless the Lord lead me differently. All right. Now, Mark chapter 11. Y'all there? No, don't stand because I'm going to read a line. Mark 11, beginning at verse number 11. If you're there, say praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
And Jesus entered into Jerusalem. And God bless my wife who's absent today. Y'all pray for that. There's a reason people have babies when they're young.
That's right.
Now we ain't old, but we ain't baby young. Babies are busy. Anybody? Any of y'all got babies in here? Most of y'all almost as old as me, if not as old as me. Babies are work for people my age. And I consider myself still young, Tony. But when Charlie, Dad running, Dad running. Now she calls her dad, Daddy, but she calls me Dad. So she said, Dad running. You know what that means? That means she's about to run and I'm supposed to run behind her. So she got Pat going 10 different directions, and Melanie got to go in the other directions. So she ain't backslid. She loved y'all. She loved the Lord. She loved him to worship him. But she just can't handle Melanie and Charlie at church together. Amen? So y'all pray for my wife. Amen. Praise God. Mark chapter 11, you back there? Mark chapter 11, verse 11. And Jesus entered into Jerusalem and into the temple. And when he had looked round about upon all things, and now the eventide was come, he went out unto Bethany with the 12. And on the morrow, when they were come from Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Y'all see that? It says he was hungry, but who's he talking about? They're talking about Jesus. Everybody said Jesus was hungry. And seeing a fig tree afar off, having leaves, he came, if haply he might find anything thereon. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for the time of figs was not yet. And Jesus answered and said unto it, who is it? Tree. Jesus spoke to the tree. He ain't crazy, y'all. But Jesus spoke to a tree. If y'all see me talking to a tree, I ain't quite crazy. But Jesus spoke to a tree. And Jesus answered and said unto what? It, the tree. What did he say? No man eat fruit of thee hereafter forever. And then what's the next thing say?
And his disciples heard it.
And his disciples heard it. How does faith come?
By hearing.
Faith comes by what?
Hearing.
Hearing. Hearing what? And hearing by the word of God. Jesus spoke to a tree, and the disciples heard it. And they come to Jerusalem, and Jesus went into the temple and began to cast out them that sold and bought in the temple. What did Jesus do? He cast them out that sold and bought in the temple. Why did he cast them? Why did he cast them out? He cast them out because they were doing in the temple that which should not be done in the temple. Who cast them out? Now, if something is going on in the church and Pastor Hearn cast it out, or cast them out that's doing the thing, y'all gonna condemn me to hell, aren't you? He wrong, he should have done that. I'm not ready to do that. But that's what Jesus did. Is that right? Is that all right? What were they doing? They were cast them out that sold and bought in the temple. So if somebody's doing something wrong in the church, if somebody's selling something in the church, guess what? Somebody's going to be buying it. Doesn't always have to be goods. It could be bad words. It could be gossip. It could be junk and mess. But rest assured, if somebody is saying it, somebody else is buying it. And the church says, amen. So if somebody try to sell you a bill of goods, and you know it ain't right, don't listen. Stop them right in their tracks. Is that all right? Don't come talking to me about Emma. I know Emma. And even if I didn't know Emma, don't come talking to me about Emma. Bad negative. Is that all right? Some say, whoa, stop. I don't need to hear that. If you got a problem with Emma, you need to go see Emma. Y'all all right? Because I don't need that poison in my mind. Because if I let them say it, person, you know what's going to happen? Because I'm a man, I'm natural, I'm a human being. You know what's going to happen next time I see Emma? I'm going to be thinking about what they said. And I'm going to be giving Emma the side eye. Y'all all right? See, you have to learn how to protect yourself.
That's right.
Is that all right?
Yes.
And that old devil, he's slick. He's cunning. Let me tell you. Whispering, let me tell you, pulling you aside. Why you gotta pull me aside? Can't you say it right here? Y'all all right? Cast out them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold up. You ever wonder why? You ever been burdened down and troubled and you didn't know why? Sometimes we're burdened down, troubled, and bothered because of some mess that we've listened to. Somebody done brought you some junk and you listened to it, now you weighed down with all that stuff. You're trying to carry everybody's burdens around. My Bible tells I'm the pastor and I don't carry nobody's burdens around. You know what? I can take them, so please don't take this and don't go talk to pastor. No, you can talk to pastor, but you know what pastor's going to do? Pastor's going to cast it on the Lord. I'm going to give it to him because I can't do it. He's the one that's going to do it. All right? Overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves, and would not suffer that any man should what? Carry any vessels through the temple. And he taught, saying unto them, is it not written, my house what? My house house shall be called of all nations, what? The
House of prayer.
But ye have what?
Made it a den of thieves.
We cannot allow the church to become, now there is a den of thieves, but we cannot allow the church to become anything other than the church. Everybody say, let the church,
Let the church
be the church.
be the church.
And the church said,
Amen.
verse 18, and the scribes and the chief priests heard it and sought how they might what?
Destroy him.
For they feared him, because all the people was astonished at his doctrine. And when evening was come, he went out of the city, and in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the roots. See that? Now, just a little while ago, Jesus did what? He spoke to the tree and cursed the tree and said, nobody's going to eat fruit from you anymore hereafter, right? Then, that was when they were coming. Then when they were leaving, they saw the tree, and what had happened to the tree? The tree, the point I want you to see, the tree responded to what Jesus said. Now go ahead and say this, there's power
There's power
in Jesus' word.
in Jesus' word. Amen.
Wait. And
And
I have authority to say
to say
what he says.
what he says. Amen.
And since I have power and authority to say what he says, then I also have an expectation that I will get the results that he got.
All right.
If
Yeah.
I have faith
All right.
in God.
He's found.
Peter, now verse 21, and Peter calling to remember, saith unto him, Master, behold, the tree which thou cursest is what? So in other words, Peter, though it looks like a statement, he was really asking a question. Because Jesus answered. Jesus answered. In other words, Peter was saying, Jesus, how did you do that? Look at verse 22. And this is where we start. And Jesus answered and said unto him, what did he say?
Have faith in God.
Everybody say it again.
Have faith in God.
Say it real loud.
Have faith in God.
One last time.
Have faith in God.
So if you want the results that Jesus get, that there's a word called homologeo. It's also English confession. It means to say the same thing. Or in this case, it means to say what Jesus said. So if we say what Jesus said and we have faith in God, then we ought to believe that what we said will come to pass. Everybody say it again. Say, have faith in God.
Have faith in God.
I'll talk loud. Say, have faith in God.
Have faith in God.
These are some of my favorite verses in the Bible. Verse 23. For verily I say unto you, that whosoever shall say unto this mountain. See how the scale went up? Jesus spoke to a tree. But he's telling us, you don't have to just speak to a tree. He said if you speak to the mountain.
All right.
I don't know about you, but every mountain I've been on got a whole bunch of trees on it. He said you can say to, he says, for verily I say unto, first he said, now Jesus, what did Jesus say? Have faith in God. Say it again, say, have faith in God. Then verse 23, for verily I say unto you, that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea. So Jesus said, I spoke to a tree, it died in place. But I'm letting you speak to the mountain, and it's got to move out of the way. Hallelujah. My problem, listen, they had to walk by that tree again. But if you cast your problem, the mountain into the sea, I don't even have to see it again, Jvon. Hallelujah. He said, for verily I say unto you, that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but what shall believe that those things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and what? Ye shall have them. So when you stand praying, when you stand praying, forgive. If ye have aught with Emma, if you have aught with anybody, what does he say? That your Father also, which is in heaven, may do what? But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father which is in heaven forgive your trespasses. Look, folks, I don't know about you, but that's too big of a consequence for me to deal with. If God don't forgive me, I can't go to heaven. I want you to think about that for a minute. Listen, I don't know of any problems that anybody got with anybody, but if you need to forgive somebody, you need to forgive them. Because if you don't forgive them, this is what the book says now, and it's in red print, so Jesus talking, right? He says, if you don't forgive them, then God, isn't that something? Who is so mad about something that is worth you going to hell for? Let me tell you, hell is eternal.
Yes, it is.
So everybody, what I want to talk about, for having long, I want to talk about the 4 laws of faith, and we're going to tell you what they are. And I don't know how long it's going to take me. I didn't anticipate the last series taking 7 months, but it did. This may take us through the rest of the year, and it may not. Faith, the rest of faith. 4 laws that's in the text, and we're going to show them to you before we get done today. What is faith? What is faith? What is faith? Faith is complete. Everybody say complete. Complete. It is complete trust, reliance, and confidence in God and everything God says. You got it? It is complete trust, reliance, and confidence in God and everything that God says. In other words, my complete trust is in God. My reliance is on God. My confidence is in God. Put no confidence in this flesh. I'll say it again. It is complete trust, reliance, and confidence in God and everything that God says. What did he say? This is what he said. This is my Bible. This is what he said. We must put complete trust and confidence in God in everything that he says. And how do we find out what he said? We must read. We must study. Paul said to the church, to Timothy, he says, study. 2:15, he said to study, to show yourself approved unto God, workmen that needed not be ashamed, what? Rightly dividing the word of truth. Rightly dividing. Paul was a tent maker, so it meant cut it straight. Cut it straight. You got to get the word right if you want to make it apply in your life. Is that all right? So faith. Fred Price, how many of you ever heard of Fred Price? Fred Price says faith is acting on what you believe. I can buy that. He said you're not going to find this in Strong's, you're not going to find it in Vines, you're not going to find it in the dictionary. He said this is my definition. And I'm smarter than you. You heard that thing? Yeah. That's what Fred Price said. I'm smarter than you. I'm on television. You're not. That's him. But he says faith is acting on what we believe, which is true. I mean, I can buy that. If you believe it, then you'll act on it. If you don't believe it, you'll hesitate. And when we hesitate, we go back to the text. He says, if you say to the mountain and shall not what? Doubt in your heart. That doubting is hesitating. You know, I believe that I hold me, but I'm not sure. So you're doubting. I believe, but I gotta test it first. See, that ain't complete trust, reliance, and confidence. If I believe and I'm acting on what I believe, I just sit right down and I believe that pew is gonna hold me. So I acted on what I believe. Is that all right? Yeah. So if we don't act on our faith, though we believe something is true, it won't change your circumstances. If I don't act on the fact that I believe this, I'm tired and want to sit down. I believe it'll hold me, but if I don't act on it and go ahead and sit down, guess what I'm going to still be doing? Standing up. So it didn't change my circumstances, did it? I'm still tired. So in order for our circumstances to be changed, we must believe in God. Put our complete trust, reliance, and confidence in Him and everything He says. And then we must act on that which we believe. Hebrews 11, just jump there real quick. Hebrews chapter 11. Y'all know what that is, right? Hebrews chapter 11. What verse? What chapter? 11, right? Now faith is the substance of things, what? It's the evidence of things. For by it, the elders obtained a good report. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by what y'all see that? Have y'all caught up yet? So verse 3. He says, through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by what?
The Word of God.
The worlds were framed by the Word of God. Do you understand and know that you can frame your world by the Word of God that you speak out of your mouth? But in order to speak the Word of God out of our mouth, there's a principle in Matthew chapter 12, verse 35. He says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. So in other words, if you're going to speak the right things, then you got to get the right thing in your heart. If you're going to have faith in God, you got to get faith in your heart, which is the Word. If the Word is in you, when circumstances rise, what's going to come out of you is the Word of God. It's not going to be doubt. It's going to be faith. Is that all right? Verse 3. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the Word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made by things which do appear. By faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gift, and by it he being dead, what? In other words, Cain is speaking from the dead. Hallelujah. 5. By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death. Enoch and God was taking a walk one day. God told Enoch, look, Enoch, I'm a little closer to my house than we go to yours. Why don't we go to my house? He walked with God. He didn't see death. I don't know where he's sitting. I know Jesus at the right hand. I don't know where Enoch is, but the Bible said he didn't see death. He's somewhere. Y'all all right? By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had what? Translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony that what? I want that to be my testimony, that I pleased God. Look at verse number 6. But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that what? And that he is a... Sometimes, if you're going to go to God, you got to believe that he is God. He has all power. He is omnipotent. He has all power. He is full of potential. If it ain't there, he can make it there because he has all power. He is omniscient. He has all knowledge. Ain't nothing that he does not know. He knows everything that ever will be. He doesn't just know what is already happening, what's happening right now. He knows what's going to happen way down the road. He's God. And he's omnipresent. Meaning he's everywhere present at the same time. He's way over there in California. He's way over here in Alabama. He's way over there in Japan. He's way over there in Africa. He's everywhere at the... There's a word that they use, that ubiquitous. God is everywhere present, but he's everywhere present at the same time. So you ain't missing out because he came to my house. He's at your house, my house, and everybody's house at the... Hallelujah. Woo! Hallelujah. Look at verse 7, and I'm going to move on from there. By faith, Noah, being warned of things not seen as yet. Not seen as yet. What was Noah warned about? Rain. It ain't never rained. So he had to believe that something that had never been yet was about to happen, and then he had to act on what he believed, and because he acted on what he believed, he built an ark.
That's right.
And saved his family. Hallelujah. Somebody say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So, James, skip over one quick and go to chapter 2. James chapter 2. James chapter 2. I gotta speed up. I'm gonna read this a little faster. But we're gonna start at verse 14. Are you there? If you're there, say praise the Lord. Say it again. Say praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
What doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled. Notwithstanding, ye give them not those things which are needful to the body. What doth it profit? If they're naked and hungry, and you just say, go be well, be clothed and be warm, but you didn't give them the necessary things, which would be food and clothing. You just sent them on their way. What did that do for them? Nothing. So what we should do in this case, if they're naked, brother, here's my jacket. Take this jacket. Put this on you. Listen, I don't have any chicken in my pocket, but let's go over here to Popeyes. I can buy you some chicken. Now that's what you do. You ain't help me by saying go be warm. And sometimes in the church we're so deep.
Teach, Pastor.
Go be thou warm and healed in the name of Jesus the Christ. Oh, I'm still hungry. I don't even believe in this Jesus you're talking about. I don't even know what you're talking about. Man, give me some food. Y'all all right? That's plain old English.
Yeah.
What he's saying there.
Amen.
Even so faith. Say that. Even so faith.
So faith.
If it hath not worked, it's what? Dead. Being alone. So in other words, I believe it, but I'm not acting on it. So then it is dead. All right? Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, say, thou hast faith and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith. What? By my works. He said, thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. But look what he says next. The devils also believe and tremble. But wilt thou know, O man, O vain man, that faith without works is what? Dead. Like somebody said, we got to act on what we believe. So, as I wrap this up, in our text, Jesus told us to have faith in God. See that? Say it again. He told us to do what? Have faith in God. The actual Greek translation says, have the God kind of faith. Well, what is the God kind of faith? The God kind of faith is a faith that speaks what he believes and then sees what he spoke.
That's right.
That's the God kind of faith. I believe it, I'm acting on it, so I'm going to speak it. The word said, by his stripes we are what? Healed. So I'm going to speak my healing. And I'm going to believe, act and say it. You know the devil don't want you to say things?
Yeah.
Because you know what people don't, listen, I'm sitting here saying I'm healed, but y'all still seeing the symptoms. But I'm healed. Even if I'm still hunched over, I'm healed. I'm healed. Because my faith is believing what I can't see.
All right. Yes.
So I'm going to keep saying I'm healed. Say it, I'm healed.
I'm healed. Hallelujah.
He said, have the God kind of faith. The God kind of faith, what? It believes, it speaks what it believes, then it sees what it spoke. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, it says, and God said.
Yeah.
Now, that's the different things he said. And God said, let there be light. Okay? That's what he said in verse number 3. But then in verse number 4, he saw what he said.
Come on.
And not only did he see what he said, but it was good.
Real good, man.
Woo, hallelujah. That's the God kind of faith. I believe it, therefore I'm going to say it, and because I say it, I'm going to see it. You can say to the mountain, be thou removed. Or you can say, like Jesus, you can say to the tree, no man shall eat fruit from you hereafter forever. And then when you go back by it again, he saw what he said, that is withered up from the roots. Hallelujah. So Jesus told us to have faith in God, to have the God kind of faith, to have complete trust, reliance, and confidence in God and everything that he says. Everybody say that's faith. Then he sets forth the 4 spiritual laws necessary for us to have faith in God. Well, before I get into the 4 laws, first of all, what is a law? A law is an established set of principles that leaves no room for debate, discussion. It is a set principle. And get this, and it works every time.
Yeah.
For who? Anybody who will put the principles in place.
All right. Yeah.
That's what a law is. It doesn't matter who does it. Newton didn't come up. He didn't, listen, the law, God had put the law in the universe already. Newton just found out about it. Sitting under a tree one day and an apple hit him on the head, let's say. And he thought he got credit for discovering something God had already put in the universe. You know, we have a problem with claiming credit, taking credit for things that listen, they teaching us in school, Columbus discovered America. How can you discover a place that's already got people on it? He didn't even know where he was. Thought he was in India, so he called it people, they're Indians. Newton didn't come up with the law of gravity. He didn't make that. He was a recipient of it, of the effects of it. And he said, oh, wait a minute. He got up and he said, now, this law of gravity, it's simple. If it goes up, what happens? That's a law, Quincy. Joy, that's a law. And I don't care who, I can bring every one of you in here. I can bring you all up front and say, hey, throw these keys up in the air. The law of gravity says what? They're going to come back down. And it's going to work every time. I can sit here all day long until I get too tired to throw them up in the air again. All day long. If I throw them up, they're going to come back down. I can bring every one of you in here up. It's a law. Like I said, it's a law. So what Jesus says forth in this text, he gives us 4 spiritual laws. And I'm just crazy enough to believe that if we put the principles that's connected with these laws in place, I believe it'll work in my life. I believe it'll change my circumstances. Well, what are they? What are they? Number 1. Verse 22 tells us that it is he said, what's verse 22? He says, have faith where? In God. So then number 1 is the person of our faith. Say principle number 1 is the person of our faith. That's found in verse 22. Then, number 2, so we got the person of faith, that's number 1. Number 2 is the principle of faith. Say it, the principle of faith. That's verse 23. Verse 24 is the prayer of faith. The prayer of faith. And then verses 25 and 26 gives us the problem of faith. The person of our faith, who is that? Jesus. The principle of faith, the prayer of faith, and then the problem of faith. You got all 4? I'll say it one more time. Number 1, the person of our faith. Number 2, the principle of faith. Number 3, the prayer of faith. And then number 4 is the problem of faith. Now, before you get too messed up about the problem of faith, the problem of faith, because somebody will say it didn't work for me. There is no failure in God. If there's any failure, guess what? The failure is so that's the introduction. So in this next series, I will briefly explain these 4 spiritual laws. Now, briefly, I say briefly, but I have to go as the Lord leads me.
That's right.
Amen.
Prayerfully,
we will learn the importance of their application to our everyday Christian living. Listen, we can't leave the Word of God on the pages of our Bible. We got to take it off the pages of the Bible, put it into my life. That's the practicality of the Word of God. Listen, practical preaching and teaching means I can take it out of here and apply it to life. Is that all right? That's the timelessness of the Bible. The things that this book was written a long time ago, but it's applicable to you and I when? Today. historical setting and make it real for me today. Is that all right? So then we gotta learn the importance of their application to everyday Christian living. So we must believe in God, and then we must put our complete trust, reliance, and confidence in God and everything that He says. And then we must act on what we believe. Is that all right? Is that all right? Give the Lord a hand clap.